Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Suzette, and I'm so glad that you're here. I have been off a little bit. I was dutifully recording on a weekly basis, and then I had to take the week of Thanksgiving off. I had family in town, and can't deny it. There's nothing like being home for the holidays with family. But I'm back. I'm back actually with a meaningful piece of content because it was requested of me by one of my subscribers, and I want to thank her so much for that feedback, the input, because I want to create information and provide content that is helpful and meaningful. This particular video are the highs to my personal growth endeavors in 2025. So yes, with every high comes a low. So the personal growth lows video will be coming next week. But for now, let's stick with the positives, the results from my personal growth in 2025, the clarity, the inspiration, the breakthroughs. I can't wait to share that with you. But first, I have to tell you that I'm not suggesting you do any of this. I offer this as inspiration, and it's a way for me to document this and, just sort of reconnect with it all. And I'm kind of doing this. There's no real order, but it sort of is, I guess. It's sort of chronological. So let's begin with the highs and how things began in 2025. And I have written some notes, so bear with me as I cruise through some of the things that I want to say. In January of 2025, I opened the calendar to the new year with a longing to be creative. And if I had to say, put a title to what this first high was, it's that I achieved creative flow. And I wanted to basically dedicate myself, at least in January, but it surprised me because I actually kept on for most of the year, is I wanted to dedicate myself to an artistic practice that didn't have to do with paint or drawing. No offense to you all, but I really wanted to try to do something that I could do easily, do with ease, and sustain. So I went back to something I've always loved ever since I was a kid, and that's collage. I think the part that was inspiring me about other people's practices was that they were doing them in small services, like little journals or index cards, or even people doing handwork, like smaller surfaces. So I knew I wanted it to be easy on a small surface and something that I could, have materials for gathered. So I decided to just use recycled materials around the house, recyclables, garbage, stuff like that. So I don't know if you've ever experienced uninterrupted creative focus and flow. That state can become addictive, and now I'm sort of understanding. Yes, I was addicted to that moment of, yay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to open up my journal, and I'm going to pull my materials together. What can I create? And that's what would happen morning after morning, almost daily. And I'm going to show you my books in a minute, but it's really about the joy of doing something, of making something that didn't exist before. That's what was for me, was like the high of this high. And being able to go back to it and see it. And so I guess I'll show you first, and then I'll sort of wrap this one up. Like on January 10th of 2025. That's a sugar packet. I think this was a piece of a brochure that came in the mail, like, junk mail. just became something beautiful. Here's I love barcodes. I don't know why. I just do. Here's a little series of barcodes, a piece of aluminum foil, and a Band-Aid wrapper. Love it. That was January 14th. And I went on. Here's some more. Like the net of the Clementine's bag, a Pringles face, little faces, little eyes, a collage. I mean, I'm proud of this. 2 big books. And I'm going to finish off the year completing the last few pages. And this isn't forced. This is true joy in 2 art journals. So, I would have to say that the lesson I learned by that project is that true focus, for me, isn't about discipline or perfection. It certainly isn't about the best materials, and it's not even planned. It is just the act of creating something and creating a moment that didn't exist before, and that it happened through me. That's what I love. And that's a passion for me. I can tell. I can tell that that's something that is a big shift for me in 2025. So, while still doing my almost daily mini collage practice, when February rolled around, I had something on the calendar that I call an I choose moment. And so high number 2 was what I call my I choose moments. I chose moments, made dedicated decisions that were really about my values versus external pressure. Like, it wasn't someone saying, Suzette, you should do this, or me having a belief that because I'm this age or in this stage of life, I oughta do blah, blah, blah. What I decided and what I've always known about myself is that I value connection. And, that's how I started this whole video, this whole YouTube channel was this idea of face-to-face interaction. So February, I actually consciously chose my value of connection and collaboration to host an event. And it was called Coffee and Connections. And I didn't have a motive nor an end goal, just this calling to gather with what I call soulful women. So people that I know that have depth, that want to go deeper than what's the weather and talking about kids. And I wanted to impact them in some way. And I'm so glad I did it. I'm so proud of that. And the result of having done that event led me to evolving further in the work I do now, in how I help soul-weary women stop the search for what's missing and reclaim themselves through what I'm calling a transformational journey. And it's a work in progress. It's called Inner Bloom Work. And I'll put links in the notes. But again, it's a work in progress. But here's what I learned from my I choose moments, is that I can take the next right step, and it doesn't matter how small it is or how small it seems. Any step that's taken with heartfelt intention allows you to communicate you're different, right? It allows you to contribute creatively and authentically so that it doesn't get decided by others. That's a big deal for me. Again, that's what personal growth is getting to know yourself better. And that was high number 2. High number 3, and there are 4 in total, are what I call the habits that changed everything. So this is kind of a multi-layered one. One is gratitude, and the other is how I decided to use social media this year. in March. I don't know why. I think I was cleaning. You know, they call it spring cleaning. I opened up a file cabinet and I found my gratitude journal. This is, oh, that's a coincidence. Yeah, it's I remember now. This is and this will make sense in a second, Gretchen Rubin product. It's a 5-year gratitude journal, and I was given to me. It was given to me maybe in 2013, and I started it, and I did like all of 2014, and I did all of 2015, and here's a time when I did also 2016, and then I don't know what happened. It's not that I haven't been grateful. I've done gratitude practices in other ways, but pulling this one out, it really was interesting because I was able to read, from days, days, the same day in different years, and all it took was, a quick sentence each day to remind me of my blessings, and that changes everything. Nothing builds hope like gratitude. And the lesson I learned on the daily, doing this for most of 2025, well, I picked it up in March. So most of 2025 on the daily is that there are generous people out there. And it would help me set the tone of positivity and optimism. Because ideally, that's how I want to engage in the world in a hopeful, positive, and optimistic way. And this really helped me. The second of this habits that changed everything title of my highs is my use of social media. I am very careful with social media, and in March and in September I decided I was going to do 2 little creative practices. One I called March Blooms, which was a daily post almost of me walking either in my neighborhood or in a park, and just taking a photo of what would capture my eye in terms of natural beauty. Anything that had color, anything that made me go, whoa, or just any kind of awe moment, I would take a photo of it and post it. And it became something for me that that was just joyful. I didn't care who liked it, who commented, who anything. I just was able to capture and use social media in a way that was productive and, added to my well-being. In September, I did something similar, but I called it Savoring September. And here's where Gretchen Rubin comes in again, the lady who did my gratitude journal. She wrote a book called Life in 5 Senses, and I read that book over the summer. And so my Savoring September was a creative project inspired by her book, and where I let myself be open to like what could surprise me, but it was more about activating my senses. And maybe it was like every week, so it wasn't a daily practice. And what struck me was the joy that I felt in being really more of a storyteller, because it's one thing to, write one quick sentence of what you're grateful for, or take a photo of a flower and just post it maybe with a love this purple or whatever was on my mind. But when you actually talk about an activation of something, there is some storytelling that takes place. And that really was something that I didn't expect, and I enjoyed that. Overall, my lesson learned of those aspects of the habits that changed everything is that when you weave creative behaviors in your daily or in your day-to-day with intention, time goes slower. And people say, I have no time, I'm out of time. Time slows down when you embark on behaviors and activities or practices that add more self-awareness for you, and it enriches your day in a way that is like no other. Better than checking everything off a task list. Last but not least, in this series of highs of 2024 was that I had what I'm calling an identity breakthrough. And over the summer, I kind of took myself out of social media altogether and decided to devote myself to more solitude, reading books, and having conversations with, people I call soulful acquaintances. You know who you are. I let go of a belief that was holding me back. And I gave myself permission to step into maybe a truer self that isn't that is more expressive of what I know now to be my superpowers, right? And you all have them. You have your own, but mine is that of a connector, being intuitive, and reflecting inner beauty and outer beauty, like that I'm a communicator of those things. So the idea of devoting myself to more thoughtful and study and ideas, not seeking, it was really still the outcome of all the things I've been doing all this year. It got me to a level of an understanding that I am a guide, and that's not something that I've ever voiced before. So this project that I'm working on, this work that I'm doing, is helping to walk with people on their life's path, and so that they can see their own brilliance. And it's getting easier to say, and that means that I embody that now. It's so cool. It's so cool to finally understand my level of leadership, and that it doesn't necessarily need a title or a social designation, an official designation, that kind of thing. So I hope I made myself clear here, that you understand where I'm coming from, because that's it. I'm going to give myself a high five for my highs in 2025. It was filled with a lot of transformation and a lot of self-understanding, self-awareness, and I want to know about you. I want to know about your year. What were your highs in your personal growth this year? I would love to celebrate them with you. And if you'd like, you can send me an email privately or jot them down here in the comments so that I can learn more about you. And yeah, 2025 still has a couple more weeks left. So who knows? Maybe I'll have another high between the next few weeks. But I will come back to you with some of the other lessons I learned that might be considered lows. So enjoy the highs, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.